Namo Namo Namaha. Ananta Koti Vaishnav Vrind ki jai, Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. प्रेम से कहो जय श्री कृष्णा चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधारा श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद की jai. Hare Krishna, this is Shama Supriya Devi Dasi from Houston, welcoming all the devotees to our Bhakti Sangha Japa conference call. I thank each and every devotee for joining this session and giving your very blissful association this morning, and it is always very great pleasure to chant with all the devotees. Thank you so much to all the Matajis for joining this chanting session. And now can I move to our next part of our session, that is our Srila Prabhupada's Lilamrta. And I request all the devotees, can we know who are all joining this morning? We can go with our introduction.
Hare Krishna, Shamsa Priya Mataji, Dandavat Pranam, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. This is Vinita Gandharvika Devidasi from Texas.
Hare Krishna, Vinita Gandharvika Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada and Guru Maharaj. Thank you so much, Mataji, for joining the session and giving your very sweet association this morning. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji, all glories to Prabhupada and Guru Maharaj. This is Praneshwari Lakshmi Devi from San Diego, California.
Hare Krishna, Praneshwari Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada and Guru Maharaj. Thank you so much, Mataji. After a long time, we are hearing your voice. Thank you for joining the call and giving a very sweet association this morning. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yes, Mataji.
Hare Krishna. This is Preeti Vilasini Devadasi from California. Thank you, Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Preeti Vilasini Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada and Guru Maharaj. Thank you so much, Mataji, for joining the session and giving your very wonderful association this morning, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavat Pranam to all the Vaishnavas. This is Lilamrta Devidasi from Santiago, Chile.
Hare Krishna, Sri Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada and Guru Maharaj. Thank you so much, Mataji, for joining the session and giving your very precious time and association this morning, Mataji. Hare Krishna. Anybody would like to introduce themselves?
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavat pranams to you and all the assembled devotees. All glories to Srila Prabhupada and Guru Maharaj. This is Lalitangi Radha Devidasi from Toronto.
Hare Krishna, Lalitangi Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada and Guru Maharaj. Thank you so much, Mataji, for joining the sessions and giving your very wonderful association, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Supriya Mataji, after I start record, can you hand over call to Lalitangi Mataji for the introduction of the speaker, and then we can hand over to the speaker?
Yeah, sure, Mataji. Lalitangi Mataji has spoken to me. Hare Krishna. I welcome all the devotees to our Bhakti Sangha Japa conference call of our Srila Prabhupada Lilamrta summary session. Hare Krishna, I hear some voice. Okay, can we mute? I'm hearing some background noise. Hare Krishna. I welcome all the devotees to our Bhakti Sangha Japa conference call of our Friday's Srila Prabhupada's Lilamrta summary sessions. And today, as part of the summary sessions, we are having chapter 22 summary. And to give this chapter, we have with us Her Grace Sri Lilamrta Mataji. And to give brief introduction about Mataji, I hand over the call to Lalitangi Mataji. Mataji, please take over the call. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavat pranams to all the assembled devotees. It is in fact nostalgic and very nice to introduce the speaker of today, my dear god sister Sri Lilamrta Devidasi. So Mataji has been a pioneer preacher in Chile, in South America. She's an initiated disciple of His Holiness Jayapataka Swami Maharaj. So recently got Brahmanical initiation also. And she has completed Bhakti Shastri And for the past, I think, 15 years, she's doing Bhakti Vriksha preaching in Chile, both in English and Spanish. Also doing various valuable services in the local temple. So we are very, very happy to have you here. And I know that her introduction to Krishna consciousness started with seeing the Abhay Charan series completely. So she's I can tell that she's a lover of Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much for this valuable opportunity to introduce her, and please take over the call, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Jai, wonderful Mataji, wonderful. So Hare Krishna, Sri Ramananda Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada and Guru Maharaj. It's our very, very wonderful fortune, Mataji, to have you on this call. And we are looking for the chapter summary, Mataji. I now hand over the call to you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much, Mataji, for this opportunity. And of course, Lalitangi Radha Mataji, she is the one who brought me to Krishna consciousness when she was in Chile. So very grateful to her and very grateful to all of you for this opportunity. So before anything else, I would like to begin by offering my respects to Srila Prabhupada. Can I share the screen? Yes. Okay.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram.
Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamin Iti Namane. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Om Agyana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vancha Kalpa Taru Vyascha Kripa Sindhu Vyayavacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasati Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Okay, so today I have been given this opportunity by the mercy of Srila Prabhupada to speak on the 22nd chapter of the Srila Prabhupada Lilamrta. The Srila Prabhupada Lilamrta describes the story of an extraordinary individual and his astonishing, sensational achievement. Of course, the individual is His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, And the achievement is his single-handed dissemination of the timeless Krishna conscious culture on the entire planet in the 20th century. The author of this book is His Holiness Satswarupa Maharaj, who's a disciple of Srila Prabhupada, and he has been there from the very beginning of ISKCON. And Satswarupa Maharaj was commissioned by the GBC after Prabhupada's disappearance to compile the biography of Srila Prabhupada. And when he researched for this book, he had his disciples and friends do interviews with so many devotees who had met and had contact with Srila Prabhupada. And their research was very, very thorough. And their end result, of course, is this most nectarian compilation of Srila Prabhupada's biography. He has so expertly composed this biography of Srila Prabhupada that there is very little chance of misinterpretation or misunderstanding what he is trying to convey. So any chapter we read in this book is very, very authoritative. Today we will be seeing chapter 22 from this book, titled Swami Invites the Hippies. So this chapter begins by describing Srila Prabhupada's first ever plane journey. He's flying from New York to San Francisco. So this is January 16, 1967. As the United Airlines jet descended on the San Francisco Bay Area, Srila Prabhupada turned to his disciple Ranchor and said, "The buildings look like matchboxes. Just imagine how it looks from Krishna's viewpoint." Srila Prabhupada was 71 years old, and this had been his first air trip. During the trip, Srila Prabhupada had spoken little. He had been chanting, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. His right hand in his cloth bead bag, he had been fingering one bead after another, and as he chanted silently to himself. When the plane had first risen over New York City, he had looked out the window at the buildings growing smaller and smaller. Then the plane had entered the clouds, which to Prabhupada had appeared like an ocean in the sky. He had been bothered by pressure blocking his ears and had mentioned it. Otherwise, he hadn't said much, but had only chanted Krishna's names over and over. Now, as the plane began its descent, he continued to chant, his voice slightly audible, Krishna, Krishna, Krishna. And as he looked out the window at the vista of thousands of matchbox houses and streets, stretching in charted plane patterns in every direction. So we see Prabhupada's first plane journey. He has spoken very less, and he's been constantly chanting the holy names of the Lord. And his observation of how the buildings are looking like tiny matchboxes, he actually uses this analogy in the introduction of the Chaitanya Charitamrita, where he writes that from the ground, we may see only clouds in the sky. But if we fly above the clouds, we can see the sun shining. Then he says, from the skies, skyscrapers and cities seem very tiny. Similarly, from God's position, this entire material creation is insignificant. So we see how Prabhupada makes observations and he uses them in his analogies to explain transcendental Vedic texts later. Then now Prabhupada is going to land, and the author writes, when the announcement for United Airlines Flight 21 from New York came over the public address system, the group of about 50 hippies gathered closer together in anticipation. For a moment, they appeared almost apprehensive, unsure of what to expect or what the Swami would be like. Roger Segal says, we were quite an assorted lot, even for the San Francisco airport. Mukunda was wearing a Merlin, the magician robe with paisley squares all around. Sam was wearing a Moroccan sheep robe with a hood. He even smelled like a sheep. And I was wearing a sort of blue homemade Japanese samurai robe with small white dots. Long strings of beads were everywhere. Buckskins, boots, army fatigues, people wearing small round sunglasses, the whole phantasmagoria of San Francisco at its height. So this assorted lot, we can see how so many different varieties of people, if we may say so, have come to meet Srila Prabhupada. Actually, only a few of them had personally met Prabhupada before this, and most of them are going to see him for the first time at the San Francisco airport. Roger later, he takes initiation and he becomes Guru Dasa. And Mukunda, he is described as a serious newcomer in this book, and he has rendered a lot of service in ISKCON, especially in the initial days of ISKCON. Okay. Srila Prabhupada was happy to be in another big Western city on behalf of his spiritual master, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati and Lord Chaitanya. The further west one goes, Lord Chaitanya had said, the more materialistic the people. Yet Lord Chaitanya had also said that Krishna consciousness should spread all over the world. Prabhupada's godbrothers had often wondered about Lord Chaitanya's statement that one day the name of Krishna would be sung in every town and village. Perhaps that verse should be taken symbolically, they said. Otherwise, what could it mean? Krishna in every town? But Srila Prabhupada had deep faith in that statement by Lord Chaitanya and in the instruction of his spiritual master. Here he was in the far western city of San Francisco, and already people were chanting. They had enthusiastically received him with flowers and Kirtan, and all over the world there were other cities much like this one. So we see how Prabhupada, he's happy to be there on behalf of his spiritual master. Many times Prabhupada would often say, when people gave him credit for his achievement, he would say that if there is any credit, it is because of my spiritual master, Srila Prabhupada would say. And we see how Prabhupada's godbrothers would think that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's prediction that the holy name of Krishna would be sung in every town and village would be symbolically. So they were thinking that probably it would happen in some kind of indirect way. They never thought that it could happen to the extent to which at least Srila Prabhupada has done practically. But we see how Prabhupada, he definitely had full faith that this instruction will certainly be fulfilled. Okay. Swamiji would be pleased, Mukunda reminded everyone, if they were all chanting Hare Krishna when he came through the gate. As the disembarking passengers entered the terminal gate and walked up the ramp, they looked in amazement at the reception party of flower-bearing chanters. The chanters, however, gazed past these ordinary, tired-looking travelers, searching for that special person who was supposed to be on the plane. Suddenly strolling toward them was the Swami, golden complexioned, dressed in bright saffron robes. Prabhupada had heard the chanting even before he entered the terminal, and he had begun to smile. He was happy and surprised. Glancing over the faces, he recognized only a few. Yet here were 50 people receiving him and chanting Hare Krishna without his having. So there is a Kirtan party at the San Francisco airport upon the arrival of Srila Prabhupada, and everybody wants to please him. So they are all chanting Hare Krishna because they want to please Srila Prabhupada. And of course, at that time in America, there were several Swamis and yogis and self-styled spiritualists. But we see how Srila Prabhupada has stood out, and he's attracting people, even without those people having seen him. And here we see the description given that Srila Prabhupada is golden complexion. So this is an experience that many disciples had with Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada is not just an Indian or a brown-skinned person who's come to the West. No, actually he was glowing because he's a pure devotee. His skin is glowing and he's golden complexion. So there is a video of this arrival of Srila Prabhupada. Fortunately, somebody has recorded it. So let's see this.
Prabhupada arrived at the airport a day or two before the Monte concert. No one knew what to expect. Mukunda and Jamuna had met Prabhupada, but none of us had met Prabhupada yet. There's my dog walking in front of Prabhupada. Allen Ginsberg. We were, of course, delighted and could immediately see that we had made the right choice once we saw Prabhupada. He seemed to light up the whole room. we couldn't take our eyes off of him. And obviously, if he attracted our gurus like Allen Ginsberg had a great influence on most of us. He was one of the leading members of what was called the Beat generation. He and Jack Kerouac practically single-handedly changed the consciousness of millions of young Americans with their ideas that life should be lived in a very open manner with freedoms and pursuing higher things and throw off the old shackles. And Prabhupada had the stamp of approval of the Beat generation. He was for us.
Okay, we'll stop here. Okay, so now Prabhupada arrives at the first temple, first ever ISKCON temple in San Francisco. The temple Mukunda and his friends had obtained was on Frederick Street in the Haight-Ashbury district. It was a small storefront with a display window facing the street. A sign over the window read, Sri Sri Radha Krishna Temple. Mukunda and his friends had also rented a 3-room apartment for Swamiji on the 3rd floor of the adjoining building. It was a small, bare, run-down apartment facing the street. Srila Prabhupada arrived at 518 Frederick Street and entered the storefront, which was decorated only by a few Madras cloths on the wall. Taking his seat on a cushion, he led a Kirtan and then spoke, inviting everyone to take up Krishna consciousness. After his lecture, he left the storefront and walked next door and up the 2 flights of stairs to his apartment. As he entered his apartment, number 32, he was followed not only by his devotees and admirers, but also by reporters from San Francisco's main newspapers, the Chronicle and the Examiner. While some devotees cooked his lunch and Ranchor unpacked his suitcase, Swamiji talked with the reporters who sat on the floor taking notes on their. So we see how Srila Prabhupada is attracting the reporters and other people who had come to hear him, because Prabhupada, when he spoke, it became very evident to the audience that he's a great scholar, and Srila Prabhupada spoke with great conviction. And because purity is the force, as Srila Prabhupada himself said, Prabhupada's purity attracted the audience. Reporter, downstairs you said you were inviting everyone to Krishna consciousness. Does that include the Haight-Ashbury Bohemians and Beatniks? Prabhupada, yes, everyone including you or anybody else, be he or she what is called an acid head or a hippie or something else. But once he is accepted for training, he becomes something else from what he had been before. Reporter, what does one have to do to become a member of your movement? Prabhupada, there are 4 prerequisites. I do not allow my students to keep girlfriends. I prohibit all kinds of intoxicants, including coffee, tea, and cigarettes. I prohibit meat eating, and I prohibit my students from taking part in gambling. So we see how Prabhupada is, he includes everyone else. He has the broadest vision, and he welcomes everyone into Krishna consciousness. He has given equal opportunity to everyone to take the mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And we see how he is not ready to mince any words. He is known for giving the straight sauce. So he doesn't want to compromise on the philosophy, and he's right there in the middle of the hippie movement, right, where there are so many people who are into drugs, etc. And he says very plainly, he says that he restricts even tea, coffee, or any kind of intoxicant. So Prabhupada is also known for making very daring statements very fearlessly. And on the strength of his purity, he impacted even the most toughest audience on the strength of his plain purity. Okay, although Prabhupada had found that reporters generally did not report his philosophy, he took the opportunity to preach Krishna consciousness. Even if the reporters didn't want to delve into the philosophy, his followers did. The big mistake of modern civilization, Srila Prabhupada continued, is to encroach upon others' property as though it were one's own. This creates an unnatural disturbance. God is the ultimate proprietor of everything in the universe. When people know that God is the ultimate proprietor, the best friend of all living entities, and the object of all offerings and sacrifices, then there will be peace. The reporters asked him about his background, and he told briefly about his coming from India and beginning in New York. So we see how Prabhupada does not miss an opportunity to preach. Prabhupada would always keep himself in the background, and he kept Krishna in the foreground. He wants to speak more about Krishna. He wants to spread more about the message of Krishna. In this case, he's talking about the peace formula from Bhagavad Gita 5.29, isn't it? And then when he was asked about himself, he only briefly spoke about himself. Out of the hundreds and thousands of photos of Srila Prabhupada that we can find, I think there are hardly a handful. I have come across only 2 or 3 photos of Prabhupada where he's looking directly into the camera. See, otherwise he's not interested in promoting himself. So this was another thing that has impacted me about Srila Prabhupada. Okay. That night on television, Swamiji's arrival was covered on the 11 o'clock news, and the next day it appeared in the newspapers. The Examiner's story was on page 2. Swami invites the hippies, along with a photo of the temple filled with followers and some shots of Swamiji who looked very grave. Prabhupada had Mukunda read the article aloud. San Francisco's largest paper, the Chronicle, also ran an article, Swami in Hippie Land, Holy Man opens San Francisco Temple. The article began, a holy man from India, described by his friends and beat poet Allen Ginsberg as one of the more conservative leaders of his faith, launched a kind of evangelistic effort yesterday in the heart of San Francisco's hippie heaven. Srila Prabhupada objected to being called conservative. He was indignant. Conservative? How is that? In respect to sex and drugs, Mukunda suggested. Of course, we are conservative in that sense, Prabhupada said. That simply means we are following Shastra. We cannot depart from Bhagavad Gita, but conservative we are not. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was so strict that he would not even look on a woman. But we are accepting everyone into this movement, regardless of sex, caste, position, or whatever. Everyone is invited to come chant Hare Krishna. This is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's munificence, his liberality. No, we are not conservative. So again, we can see how Prabhupada is very broad-minded and he welcomes everyone, and how Prabhupada comments that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would not even look at a woman. But Srila Prabhupada, he broke tradition. He gave first and second initiation to women. Having women pujaris was not a common practice at all during that period. And even now we see how in certain temples, women are not allowed to even enter the temple. But Srila Prabhupada gave Brahman initiation to women and even brought them on the altar. And he even gave sannyas, the highest order in Varnashram system, to several of his Afro-American disciples. So we see how Prabhupada is not conservative. He's actually very broad-minded. So here we see how Prabhupada is giving second initiation, and we see a woman pujari. This picture also, she's a Russian devotee. She's a pujari on the altar, and he's an Indian, and he's come to take the darshan of the Lord. So we see how because of Prabhupada's mercy, we have Westerners and we have women on the altar, which otherwise was unheard of before Srila Prabhupada went to the West. And here he's giving sannyas to several disciples. Okay. This is an excerpt from a Back to Godhead magazine in 1978, written by Her Grace Sita Devi Dasi. It shows how Prabhupada did not reject anyone. I had the good fortune to be in Srila Prabhupada's room when he was visiting the Mexico City temple in 1974. At that time, a disciple who had strayed away had returned and was asking Srila Prabhupada to forgive him. He said he was afraid that Srila Prabhupada might have rejected him forever. The entire room fell silent. Srila Prabhupada lowered his head thoughtfully for a moment. Then he looked up and said, Krishna is God, and if he likes, he can spread Krishna consciousness all over the world in a second without the help of anyone. But I am not God. I am simply a servant of God, so I require assistance. If someone helps me even a little, I am eternally indebted to him. You have helped me very much. So how can I reject you? We were all moved by Srila Prabhupada's humility and forgiveness. So we see from this incident how Prabhupada would not reject anyone. And here we have cuttings of the newspapers, newspapers that carried headlines of Srila Prabhupada from 1967. Then in this chapter, we read about how Prabhupada would translate his books. Srila Prabhupada rose from bed and turned on the light. It was 1 a.m. Although the alarm had not sounded and no one had come to wake him, he had risen on his own. The apartment was cold and quiet. Wrapping his chadar around his shoulders, he sat quietly at his makeshift desk, a trunk filled with manuscripts, and in deep concentration, chanted the Hare Krishna mantra on his beads. After an hour of chanting, Srila Prabhupada turned to his writing. Putting on his reading glasses, Prabhupada opened his books and turned on the dictating machine. He studied the Bengali and Sanskrit texts, then picked up the microphone, flicked the switch to record, flashing on a small red light, and began speaking. An hour passed and Prabhupada worked on. The building was dark except for Prabhupada's lamp and quiet except for the sound of his voice and the click and hum of the dictating machine. He wore a faded piece turtleneck jersey beneath his grey wool chadar, and since he had risen from bed, his saffron dhoti was wrinkled. Without having washed his face or gone to the bathroom, he sat, absorbed in his work. At least for these few hours, the street and the Radha Krishna temple were quiet. He was following what was becoming a vital routine in his life, rising early and writing the Parampara message of Krishna consciousness, putting aside all other considerations, disregarding present circumstances. He would merge into the timeless message of transcendental knowledge. This was the most important service to Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati. The thought of producing more books and distributing them widely inspired him to rise every night and translate. Prabhupada worked until dawn. Then he stopped and prepared himself to go down to the temple for the morning meeting. So we see Prabhupada would get up at 1 in the morning and so painstakingly translate the ancient literature for all of us. So Prabhupada's style was, he would present the original Sanskrit or Bengali verse, and then he would present the transliteration in English, the synonyms, word to word synonyms, translation, and elaborate purports. So thanks to Srila Prabhupada's books, his treasures that he has given us, these several hearts have been churned and they have caused a spiritual revolution all over the world. I was watching a lecture by Gauranga Prabhu from Pune, and when he lectured, there was a person in the audience who was a PhD in Sanskrit, and he had come from Vrindavan. He was born and raised in Vrindavan, and he's a PhD in Sanskrit, and he had started his work on translating the Srimad Bhagavatam, he said. And Gauranga Prabhu introduced him and he asked him that, since how long are you working on the translation? So he says, it's been 1 month. And how many verses have you translated? He asked him. He says, no, I'm still on the first verse. So for 1 whole month, he's still working only on the first shloka of the Bhagavatam and being a PhD in Sanskrit, and he's still not finished. So we see how it's not easy. It's not an easy task, and how Prabhupada has done it for us based on his purity and his expertise and his deep knowledge that he has on the Shastra. Now we are reading about an event that was held in San Francisco called the Mantra Rock Dance. In this event, several big names from the music world were invited, and the goal of this event was to provide Srila Prabhupada with a great audience where he can preach to a larger audience, and also they were able to collect some funds for the San Francisco temple. So here is a description of that. Though some of the New York disciples had objected, Srila Prabhupada was still scheduled for the Mantra Rock Dance at the Avalon Ballroom. It wasn't proper, they had said, for the devotees out in San Francisco to ask their spiritual master to go to such a place. It would mean amplified guitars, pounding drums, wild light shows, and hundreds of drugged hippies. How could his message be heard in such a place? Srila Prabhupada knew he would not compromise himself. He would go, chant, and then leave. The important thing was to spread the chanting of Hare Krishna. If thousands of young people gathering to hear rock music could be engaged in hearing and chanting the names of God, then what was the harm? As a preacher, Prabhupada was prepared to go anywhere to spread Krishna consciousness. Harvey Cohen had created a unique poster, Krishna Consciousness Comes West, using red and blue concentric circles and a candid photo of Swamiji smiling in Tompkins Square Park. The devotees put the posters all over town. So here we can see the poster that was designed by Harvey Cohen. He later took initiation and he became Sri Haridas Brahmachari. In New York, since there were so few women present at the temple, people had inquired whether it were possible for a woman to join the Krishna consciousness movement. But in San Francisco, that question never arose. Most of the men who came to learn from Swamiji came with their girlfriends. To Prabhupada, these boys and girls, eager for chanting and hearing about Krishna, were like sparks of faith to be fanned into steady, blazing fires of devotional life. There was no question of his asking the newcomers to give up their girlfriends or boyfriends, and yet he uncompromisingly preached no illicit sex. The dilemma, however, seemed to have an obvious solution: marry the couples in Krishna consciousness. Because traditionally a sannyasi would never arrange or perform marriages by Indian standards, someone might criticize Prabhupada for allowing any mingling of the sexes. But Prabhupada gave priority to spreading Krishna consciousness. So we see how Prabhupada adjusted according to time, place, and circumstances. At the same time, he never compromised on the philosophy. So here there is a problem of girlfriends. So he's come out with a spiritual solution to that material problem, which is to marry them, to marry the couples. So he has performed some marriage ceremonies of Joan and Roger, Bonnie and Gary, Michael and Nancy, Steve and Carol. He got them married. Later, they took initiation and they became Yamuna and Gurudas, Govinda Dasi and Gaura Sundara, Dayananda and Nandarani, and Subala and Krishna Devi. So these are the marriages that Srila Prabhupada has performed. There was much concern about the huge influx of youth into San Francisco, a situation that was creating an almost uncontrollable social problem. The local authorities welcomed the service offered by Swami Bhaktivedanta's temple, Master Subramanya. A lot of responsible citizens in San Francisco were very happy that Swami Bhaktivedanta was working amongst the young people. The young people at that time were searching and needed somebody of a high caliber who would take an interest in them and who would say, you should do this and you should not do that. The consensus was that no one could tell the young people what to do because they were completely out of hand with drugs and so forth. But Swamiji told them what to do and they did it. And everyone was appreciative, especially the young people. Harsharani. Just from a medical standpoint, doctors didn't know what to do with people on LSD. The police and the free clinics in the area couldn't handle the overload of people taking LSD. The people saw Swamiji as a certain refuge. Michael Bowen. Bhaktivedanta had an amazing ability through devotion to get people off drugs, especially speed, heroin, burnt out LSD, and all of that. Haridas. The police used to come with their paddy wagons through the park in the early hours of the morning and pick up runaway teenagers sleeping in the park. The police would round them up and try to send them back home. The hippies needed all the help they could get. The Radha Krishna temple was certainly a kind of spiritual heaven. Kids sensed it. They were running, living on the streets, no place where they could go, where they could rest, where people weren't going to hurt them. A lot of kids would literally fall into the temple. I think it saved a lot of lives. There might have been a lot more casualties if it hadn't been for Hare Krishna. It was like opening a temple in a battlefield. It was the hardest place to do it, but it was a place where it was the most needed. Although Swamiji had no precedence for dealing with any of this, he applied the chanting with miraculous results. The chanting was wonderful. It worked. So one solution to so many problems Srila Prabhupada has provided. And he's giving relief to the youngsters, to the police, to the doctors. They're all very pleased with the solution that Srila Prabhupada has offered. Gradually, Prabhupada's followers became more considerate of their spiritual master and began protecting him from persons they thought might be undesirable. One such undesirable was Rabbit, perhaps the dirtiest hippie in Haight-Ashbury. Rabbit's hair was always disheveled, dirty, and even filled with lice. His clothes were ragged and filthy, and his dirt-caked body stank. He wanted to meet Prabhupada, but the devotees refused, not wanting to defile Prabhupada's room with Rabbit's nasty, stinking appearance. One night after the lecture, however, Rabbit waited outside the temple door. As Prabhupada approached, Rabbit asked, "May I come up and see you?" Prabhupada agreed. Every night, someone would come to argue with Prabhupada. One man came regularly with prepared arguments from a philosophy book, from which he would read aloud. Prabhupada would defeat him, and the man would go home, prepare another argument, and come back again with his book. One night, after the man had presented his challenge, Prabhupada simply looked at him without bothering to reply. Prabhupada's neglect was another defeat for the man, who got up and left. Israel, like Rabbit, was another well-known Haight-Ashbury character. He had a long ponytail and often played the trumpet during Kirtan. After one of Prabhupada's evening lectures, Israel challenged, "This chanting may be nice, but what will it do for the world? What will it do for humanity?" Prabhupada replied, "Are you not in this world? If you like it, why will others not like it? So you chant loudly." A mustached man standing at the back of the room asked, "Are you Allen Ginsberg's guru?" Many of the devotees knew that the question was loaded, and to answer either yes or no would be difficult. Srila Prabhupada replied, "I am nobody's guru. I am everybody's servant." To the devotees, the whole exchange became transcendental due to Swamiji's reply. Swamiji had not simply given a clever response. He had answered out of a deep, natural humility. So we see how Srila Prabhupada is also so expert at dealing with people, answering people's questions, and handling difficult situations. And also Srila Prabhupada's humility stands out. One out of the many, many qualities that he has, humility is one of those qualities that stand out very much. When Srila Prabhupada went to India, after he had established ISKCON, one of his godbrothers had asked him that others have gone to the West and tried to spread Krishna consciousness in the past, but they didn't succeed. You have succeeded. So what is the secret of your success? So that he quoted the third verse of the Shikshastakam. He said, what's the third verse of Shikshastakam? Trinadapi sunichena tarar iva sahishnuna amanina manadena kirtaniya sadahari. So one who thinks himself lower than the grass, one who's more tolerant than a tree, and one who does not expect personal honor, yet is always prepared to give all respect to others, can very easily always chant the holy name of the Lord. So this is the verse that Srila Prabhupada quoted when he was asked, why is it that he succeeded when others failed? Humility is one of his many qualities. Okay, another night when Prabhupada was lecturing, a boy came up and sat on the dais beside him. The boy faced out towards the audience and interrupted Prabhupada. "I would like to say something now." Prabhupada politely said, "Wait until after the class, then we have questions." The boy waited for a few minutes, still sitting on the dais, and Prabhupada continued to lecture. But again the boy interrupted. "I got something to say. I want to say what I have to say now." The devotees in the audience looked up, astonished, thinking that Swamiji would handle the matter and not wanting to cause a disturbance. None of them did anything. They simply sat while the boy began talking incoherently. Then Prabhupada picked up his kartalas. "All right, let us have Kirtan." The boy sat in the same place throughout the Kirtan, looking crazily, sometimes menacingly at Prabhupada. After half an hour, the Kirtan stopped. Prabhupada cut an apple into small pieces, as was his custom. He then placed the paring knife and a piece of apple in his right hand and held his hand out to the boy. The boy looked at Prabhupada, then down at the apple and knife. The room became silent. Prabhupada sat motionless, smiling slightly at the boy. After a long, tense moment, the boy reached out. A sigh rose from the audience as the boy chose the piece of apple from Prabhupada's open hand. So here yet another incident where Prabhupada has melted the heart of a very difficult to convince, tough audience, isn't it? And how Prabhupada has faced a dangerous situation here. He's giving him the knife and the apple. Fortunately, he chose the apple. So speaking about apple, because here we read that how it was Prabhupada's custom to cut an apple into small pieces and he would distribute it. We know in the early days of ISKCON also, when there were no resources, Prabhupada would cut an apple and distribute it to the audience. So I was reading an article how there are 5 apples that have changed the world. What are these 5 apples? One is the apple of Adam and Eve that brought about the sin revolution because they disobeyed God's only commandment. So as a result of that, karma ensued for all humanity. So this Adam and Eve's apple brought about the sin revolution. Then we have Newton's apple, which brought about a revolution in the world of science. And then we have Apple records of the Beatles. Actually, the cultural revolution was brought about the Beatles before they had registered Apple records. The revolution started in 1963. But they also had an Apple connection because when they registered their company, they called their company Apple Records in 1968. Then we have the apple of Steve Jobs. Apple has brought about a revolution in the world of technology. And of course, the most important apple is the apple of Srila Prabhupada, which brought about a spiritual revolution. So the sin revolution was converted to a spiritual revolution thanks to His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. So this, by the mercy of Srila Prabhupada, we come to the end of the summary of chapter number 22. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai.
Jai. Hare Krishna Mataji, thank you so much. It was such a beautiful session. You brought about such beautiful, beautiful key points in this chapter, and thank you for talking about the apples. That was very interesting. And Srila Prabhupada's demeanor in every circumstance that you described was beautiful. I especially liked how Prabhupada had he was an expert in answering questions. At the same time, he was very genuine in his humility. So thank you so much, Mataji. Supriya Mataji.
Thank you.
Right. Very nice, Mataji. Super. Thank you so much, Mataji, for coming on the call and giving this very wonderful summary of this chapter 22, Mataji. I know that the way you are narrating the summary, everything is very, very nice, Mataji. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Mataji.
Hare Krishna Sri Ram Nam Radharasi. What a beautiful class. I realized what I've been missing the last couple of weeks. I've been so busy, but it was just simply, ecstatic listening to not only Srila Prabhupada's, of course, his wonderful journey, but the humility with which he addressed every situation, and also his complete faith. Because when you were mentioning the knife, of course, what came to my mind was Guru Maharaj's incident in Italy with the knife. And immediately, my heart jumped to my throat just thinking about that incident. So I remember, how all the disciples of Srila Prabhupada go so much out of their way to continue this progress of Srila Prabhupada in his example. So thank you so very much. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Mataji, Dandavat Pranam. Very, very beautiful class, Mataji. I really liked all the points. First, initially started with the Guru Astakam, and it was so nice. The mood was so nicely set up for the chapter. And can you hear me, Mataji? Is it clear, my voice is?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah, because I'm in another room where internet is not completely coming. So then I really like the point that you were sharing about that PhD person who is doing Sanskrit PhD and he's not able to do one verse, and how Srila Prabhupada in such an old age he could finish it like very quickly. We can see the empowerment. And also you were telling that point of like how Srila Prabhupada has a solution for everything, that when the boys came with a girlfriends, okay, come on, let's get married to them. So then both of them got used in the service of the Lord. That was really awesome. Like always Srila Prabhupada has something to do with Krishna consciousness. And very nice, Mataji. So many points you were sharing. How Srila Prabhupada was giving women an opportunity, because other places women are kept beside. But if you see here, Srila Prabhupada is giving opportunity to women also to grow in Krishna consciousness, and also they are initiated in Brahman. That is very nice, Mataji. So many beautiful points you were sharing. It was so nice, heart-touching. And first flight journey that you were talking about, it is so nice how Srila Prabhupada is comparing. Look at this, how we are seeing from above, and what would be Krishna's image seeing this old material. We think, oh, we have such a big mansion. Okay, in Krishna's viewpoint, it is like nothing, a tiny big, maybe like a dot or something. It is so nice, Mataji. The way you took up each and every point, it was so nice. Thank you so much, Mataji. Very heart-touching class. Very bold.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna, Lilamrta Mataji. What a pleasure it is to hear from you, glorifying Srila Prabhupada is natural for you from your heart. And every little point that you had, you had something to enrich it. The video that we saw, how he landed in San Francisco, and the point about his humility, his answering question about Allen Ginsberg. And you rightly said that is not a clever answer, but yeah, that's what he's feeling naturally, and it comes out. And also he connected with, that is the reason for his success, Cheto Darpanamarjanam, the verse in that, the third verse, Ranada Pisunichena. So it's easy to say, but Srila Prabhupada basically, grew this movement by his example, because his books were not there, temples were not there, but his example and his heart of humility and love was there. Really so wonderful, so touching presentation. And I would request you, please come often and enlighten all of us in this forum. It will be great to have your association.
Thank you, Mataji. Thank you. Eternal indebted to you, Lalitangi Mataji, for bringing me to Krishna consciousness. I will never forget it. Thank you so much, Mataji.
No, you're already in. I'm just, anybody else would have done that too. But wonderful journey, Mataji. The way you're doing in Chile is amazing. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. I just wanted to share one more point, that you were talking about beauty of Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada was glowing, right? You were telling Ali, it's not like not white or a black or a Indian or anything. He's glowing because he has devotion in him. So it's not about the beauty outside. We look, we might be dark in or a white in color, whatever color we are, but the devotion shows in our face. That's a very nice, interesting point, Mataji. Very bold.
Haribol. Thank you, Mother.
Hare Krishna, Mataji, Dandal Pranams. Very nice class, Mataji. And I especially like the picture behind you. It's like Prabhupada is listening to what you're saying and smiling. It looks very nice. So thank you so much for your kind association. And I also missed these classes for a few weeks now, and it was pure nectar for me to hear after so long. Thank you so much, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Iti Shinam Mataji, Koti Dandvat Pranam, Srila Prabhupada, Srila Gurudev Ki Jai, Gopinath Ki Jai. Mataji, you explained so nicely about the pineapple and the patience. So Vaishnava are not accepting Srila Prabhupada, but Prabhupada teaches the patience. Patiently, he has a full faith in lotus feet of Shri Radha Shyamsundar and his and Shri Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, that he just start a Kirtan and give an apple prasadam and engage in a service, and the different meaning of 5 apples and that apple honor, I forgot the name you just explained. Though he just walk more than 4 or 5 miles to eat khichdi prasadam in a temple. So Srila Prabhupada established food for life for the people. So many people are, by eating prasadam, they become a devotee, Mataji. And it is challenging thing. Thank you very much, Ajji Lalitangi Mataji, to introduce Ajji Sinam Mataji, that you are taking a Shri Bhagavad Gita class. I know the first class, that how can I understand this Shri Bhagavad Gita class? And so nicely you are not doing tilak, because they are newcomer Vaishnava, and making 26, 27 slides, and start with Srila Prabhupada Kirtan, and then very patiently, word by word, you are explaining the Nama Vishnu Padaya, that's Mahamantra, and all, every word to word, how patiently you explain all the Vaishnava, and now they become a so sincere Vaishnava within 9-10 months, Mataji. So you are working hard to prepare slides, all the slides, and so many activities in a school. And Mataji, koti dandavat pranam to your seva, because we are 28, 29 Vaishnava, but you make a 2 parts. One is a morning class and other is afternoon class. It's not only 1 hour, it's 2.5 hour class, Mataji. And you prepare so nicely all the slides that जो अंधे होते हैं या गूंगे होते हैं या बहरे होते हैं, उनको भी समझ में आ जाता है. कोटि कोटि दंडवत प्रणाम to your sincere सेवा, Mataji. Learning so many things from you. कोटि कोटि दंडवत प्रणाम. आचार्य जय पताका महाराज की जय, श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय, Mataji. You are the example that how should we serve our Guru Maharaj. So determination, whatever seva we know, whether it's cooking or cleaning or garland seva or preaching seva, we have to put our efforts. That lesson I learned from you, Mataji. Koti koti dandavat pranam. Shinam Mataji ki jai. Thank you, Mataji. Please give your association to Bhakti Sangha. All the teachers, you are also one of the teachers of Bhakti Sangha, Mataji. Please give your association and blessing to Bhakti Sangha also, Mataji. Give your association regularly in Bhakti Sangha. Hari Hari Gauranga. Koti koti dandavat pranam, Mataji.
Thank you very much, Vrinda Gopika Mataji. You're a part of our Gita classes, and I have to learn big lessons from you. I have to learn how to be humble. I have to learn how I should constantly hear the message of Krishna. So please bless me that I can continue and follow your footsteps. Thank you so much, Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Srinam Radha Mataji. My humble pranams. Mataji, very wonderful class and very beautiful slides, and your humble presentation really touched my heart. No doubt you are very dear to Guru Maharaj. Jai Ho, Hari Bol. Thank you so much, Mataji. Wonderful presentation. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Yeah, please go ahead, Mataji.
Yeah, I just want to take this moment to just, actually glorify Lalitangi Mataji. I know so many people, she just brings them into Krishna consciousness. Like, I've been seeing this for so many years now. Like, she has so many classes online and via phone and even Bhakti Vrikshas. I mean, she's so inspiring in so many ways. Thank you, Mataji. We are blessed to have your association also.
Oh, Mataji, I didn't do anything for Lilamrta.
Yeah, and
she
then she
came
said,
on.
I didn't do anything too.
No, she came on, I mean, for I think quite like, I think 6-7 years, even the temple didn't know that she was even doing Bhakti Vriksha. And when I left Chile, she was the one, and even now she's the one who's continuously doing cooking all alone. I think now is it a monthly once home program? Around 40 people come every month. That's going on for the past.
Yes.
Yeah, 15 to 16 years and more. So I learned I have to be dedicated like you, Mataji. Thank you so much.
Chile as in Argentina? I mean, where is this?
This is Chile, South America. It's the last trip in South American continent.
Yeah, I was like, okay, Chile, I've never. So you get association of Hanumat Prashik Swami Maharaj there? He visits there.
Yes, he travels here. Yes, usually in the month of Jan, he comes to South America. Yeah.
Jai, very nice, Mataji. Nice to meet you.
Thank you so much for having.
I want to add one more point that please forgive me, Mataji, that Mataji, it's easy to preach those who are knowing Srila Prabhupada, but it is very hard to newcomer Vaishnava. They have so many questions in the middle of the class, but very patiently you give them answer. And yes, taking class in the home and cooking prasadam and serving all the Vaishnava, and you are not saying anything to anybody, but I have seen in Jai Pataka Maharaj Prasadam Seva that Maharaj is given a Brahman initiated to you. Even you are not write down your name also, not enough. So humble Mataji. Thank you, Mataji, for your association, learning so many things from you. Dandavat Pranam. Thank you, Aji Lalitangi Mataji, to engage us in a Srinam Mataji's Seva. Koti Koti Dandavat Pranam to both of you. Hare Krishna. Please give your regular association in Bhakti Sangha also, Mataji.
Thank you so much, Sri Ramanatha Mataji. Dear devotees, anybody would like to share their realizations for today's summary session? Or else, with the Mataji's permission and the rest of the devotees' permission, we can end today's session. So, once again, Mataji, thank you so much for this wonderful summary session, and we would like to seek your association in future also, Mataji. Hope to see you soon. So with this note, I would like to pay my obeisances to you and all the devotees on the call. Vancha kalpatarubhyasya kripa sindhubhya vacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namah. Ananta koti Vaishnav Vrind ki jai. Namachali Srila Haridas Thakur ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Prabhupada Lilamrta ki jai. Her Grace Sri Namarada Mataji ki jai.
Thank you,
Thank you so much, Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Mataji, thank you so much for contributing.
Jai. Thank you everyone for joining today's class. We'll meet again tomorrow.
Thank you, Mataji. Very nice class.